Hello, hello, hello. Hi. I'm Theo, and I'm here to talk a little bit about something I'm calling group therapy. It's the final session of the day, so I know you've been to a load of sessions, but bring some energy and some enthusiasm. It's going to be quite funny and a bit silly as well, so I wanted to end it on a light-hearted note. Just by way of introduction to me, if this clicker works. Can I get another clicker, guys? No. Sorry, I think it must be out. That is literally like end of the conference material. Try it again. Oh yeah, here we go. Right, back to it. So this is me. I am a founder of kind of two businesses. One is Warm Street. We're a communications agency exploring culture through social partnerships and experiential. And creators too. We've been founded in 2015, so we've witnessed the culture marketing industry grow and flourish, and it's been a really exciting journey for us. And today we work globally with a number of brilliant clients, all at the cutting edge of culture. But also last year, which I'm going to spend more time talking about, we founded a program called Beyond, and it's a culture program. We noticed that many of our clients just felt very siloed. Quite often, they're the creative ones in business parks in Chiswick, and they just wanted to get out and explore culture, but also build relationships as well, and be able to look peer-to-peer and learn from each other. So it's been really exciting. It's gone really, really well, and we've had over 170 brands join, and we've got brands both senior and junior, actually. We kind of make sure that we have like a really good interplay, so we get a diversity of opinion and thought. But from brands like JD Sports, Nike, Red Bull, Converse, Netflix, Next, etc. And we started Beyond really because I felt like there was no centralized place for culture marketeers to connect. Our clients are really fed up of spending days in business parks in Chiswick. And they tend to be perennially underserved in their business units in terms of kind of like growth and development opportunities. And when it comes to culture marketing, it's quite a specific set of skills that you're having to learn, and you're having to quite often fight against a corporate structure that's not necessarily built for the kind of like cultural world. So we wanted to provide like our members like as much training as possible. And we built 4 pillars to this. So we've got future field trips, which are dedicated field trips where we explore the future of culture. That can be like the future of nature marketing. We're all going to go on a walk and speak to nature experts, through to wellness. We've got one coming up at Fabric where we're like exploring their wellness room and exploring the kind of concept of soft clubbing. We took 20 brand leaders to We Out Here Festival last year to talk about the future of festivals. So really thinking about kind of getting out and seeing the world rather than reading about it in a deck. We also have Great Minds, which is a series of intimate breakfasts. We call them therapeutic workshops. It's like Chatham House rules. We can talk really openly about the challenges we face. We guide the discussion and pair brands with culture leaders as well. So you'll not only be able to sit and understand, like, from a peer perspective, what's on in another, but even sometimes in a competitive brand, it's like some of the challenges they're facing, but you'll also be able to hear about other challenges that are being faced firsthand by culture leaders too, and what that might mean for your business today. The feedback is incredible. People find it really, really inspiring. We've got Seafront Left, which is AAA access to festivals, conferences, club nights, and exhibitions. Really thinking about inspiring brand managers to step outside their 4 walls, get outside, see the world, and then we also provide connections to those grassroots people at the cutting edge of culture as well. So you'll be able to then meet those people, and we've had a couple of really interesting partnerships come off the back of it, where those brands have been able to like then go on and work with them. And we do that pro bono because we just believe in the power of connection and building a really beautiful ecosystem. And then we have Business of Culture, which is a little bit more theoretical, but it's our thought leadership arm where we'll publish some of the findings from Beyond, whether that's like summarizing all of the kind of roundtables we've done and taking out key learnings, whether it's, our next report is all about the culture around running and where running culture is going to. But that's kind of, so we publish thought leadership pretty much quarterly. Kind of have a mantra about field craft, not folklore. Like quite often we hear about culture, but we hear about it third hand, and this is all about getting out, understanding it, and being in the field. And interestingly, we've kind of sat shoulder to shoulder with about 80 different brand leaders over the last 18 months and had these really honest, open conversations. And we're very privileged to be able to hear it all. I'm going to share a few things as part of this, but some of these kind of key themes came through and they keep on cropping up. One of the main themes is kind of selling culture to the C-suite. How do we translate that? How do we convince our bosses to sign off budget to invest into culture and culture programs? The next one is measurement, challenges around it, but also ways to do it and methodologies. quite a lot of our members are like freely sharing methodology now for how they measure and track and optimize. There's this age-old challenge that's happening now, which is performance versus brand. So and when I say brand, that also means kind of culture marketing activity. So where budget is on a quarterly basis being siphoned off from a brand pot and put into performance marketing because we need to hit quarterly objectives. But what's happening is that we're then not investing into our brand equity. So in many ways, our performance marketing is working less effectively because we're kind of eroding our brand equity too. So this is a challenge that many of our clients face. And I guess associated with that, short-termism are raising long-term opportunities. So quite a few of our brands are looking to build long-term programs. They know that's where the kind of ROI grows, is building cultural IP. But the short-termism where they're like, we have to kind of hit a quarter objective and we're pulling budget away, means they're not able to move on those projects. And they're really only getting clarity of budget of kind of like quarterly or in terms of every 6 months. It's really like, the timeline is really small. Staying up to date on culture is also something that's always a challenge for our clients and members, and we look to try and keep them up to date as much as we can. But importantly, there's a hunger for growth. Like, they're really hungry. They want to be change makers in their business, but they also want to grow personally as well, and they find that from an HR perspective, they're quite often under-invested into, and they want to be able to develop these skill sets. We asked many of them, actually, just this talk, some really interesting takes for what they see for the future of culture marketing, which I'll play back here now. Someone said, I'm anticipating a continued shift from broadcasters to curators. Creatively, AI will enable more innovative storytelling, but amongst the noise, those stories will need greater purpose to cut through. I think we've heard quite a lot of that so far today. In a landscape of accelerated campaign development and automated strategies, marketeers will lead more heavily into human connection, the right partnerships, the right relationships. So whilst we might start to output more, we have to think about the human stories that are being told and what's going to shift the needle for someone that's going to be bombarded with potentially 10 times more content than they are being bombarded with today. I like this one. Shitification is going to become an epidemic. So algorithms are going to get noisier, platforms more commercialized, audiences more skeptical. I think we're already starting to see that today. Culture will become harder to access, communities harder to reach, and trust harder to earn. The brands that win won't be the loudest or the trendiest. It will be the ones who commit to building long-lasting value with the people that shape culture from the ground up. And I think kind of Lucrece's talk actually touched on that earlier about kind of really investing into those relationships and those being at the beating heart of your brand versus investing into platforms and trying to kind of consistently focus on a content treadmill. Like, who are the people that are going to take your brand to the next level in 3 years' time, and how do we keep really great relationships with those people, and or who are the communities that are going to do that for us too? Another take, we'll see less performative culture-driven marketing. I thought it's a really interesting one. We've had so much in terms of social impact and performativeness, but actually I think we're getting a kind of like, in a world of anti-woke, brands are actually stepping away from that, not only out of fear, but I also think there's an element of like, it's allowing those brands that had an authentic voice in that conversation to really shine through. So brands that have historically engaged with culture marketing in a performative manner just won't show up at all. The small indie brands will continue to lead the way. And for this brand, this will provide an opportunity to reclaim space as a mainstream value of their brand. So quite excited because they stand for something, they represent a marginalized community, and they are like really have a great community bond, but they found that that bond has been kind of weakened by other brands being performative. So they're quite excited about the opportunity it means for them to be able to have a very authentic and true conversation. So, key themes. We've got content overload, community above all. Be really specific, target someone, mean something to someone, and invest into those human relationships. But importantly, human stories that can cut through in an AI world, and really thinking about what is going to drive that emotional connection. Okay, on to the second section and second part. We're calling this group therapy. I also asked, when we surveyed the 170 members of Beyond, I asked them for some horror show stories, and I think behind every calamity is a learning for us in there somewhere. But I also think it's quite hard at the moment for everyone. I think we're expected to do more with less. We've got a lot of pressure. So it's kind of good to be actually, some of the challenges that I face in my day-to-day are also things that are being experienced elsewhere. So Hopefully this is like refreshing. Right, truth number one, called the Dracometer. This is what one of our members created. She said, I had to create a Dracometer to explain talent size, but in fractions of Drake, because my senior leadership only knew who Drake was. So for example, let's work with Stormzy. Stormzy is a 20th of Drake. That was a conversation that she was having to have. But underneath this is quite an important point, because I think it really demonstrates that there's a knowledge gap, and the community member has understood that knowledge gap, and she's found a way to try and speak that language, but do it in a comedic way that doesn't alienate that senior stakeholder. I think she really focused on her skill as a translator, and for many culture marketeers, like, that is I would say 50% of the success in role is being able to get people internally on board with your vision. And she managed to do this really effectively. She's also one of the best people I know at signing off budget, so it really works. Think about mixed media, and I think obviously humor is a great way to bond and overcome some of these challenges, especially when you're kind of jumping up a few rungs as well. Truth number two, I'm calling it, is we must disrupt. We've heard this 1,000 times from senior leadership, right? And this is what another member said. I had a project cancelled by our global CEO because they felt the impact would have been too big and the business weren't ready for it. Obviously, what was the brief? We must be disruptive. So what's the learning here, right? We're all on a culture journey. Some brands are culturally fit. Some brands are just getting started. It's trying to understand where your business is on that journey and understand what the right idea is. And I think for businesses like, for example, Red Bull, they can deliver the culture clash, and that doesn't scare them because they're built for it. The business is used to it. It's like ready to go. But if you're I think this was a very well-known aperitif brand, but like they are not built for big culture activations. So that's where I think a partner can be a really helpful way to kind of dispel risk. You work with the partner is running that activation, they're really leaning into it, or you're inviting them to partner in your own, you build the owned IP, they partner in, and they take the weight and the stress internally. I spoke to the CMO of Co-op yesterday about their Glastonbury activation, and they said it's a Herculean effort, and actually they are challenged quite a lot internally on the value of that, considering the kind of pressure it puts a business under. So there is a value in outsourcing and partnering. My only watch out is make sure you own the IP and you're inviting a partner into that so that you don't end up with all your eggs in their basket. And I think that's another area of risk. Stakeholder preparation. Double-sided coin here, I think. How much do you share? Because people will dig into detail. How much do you simplify? But also preparation, right? Like trying to get as many teams on board so that it's kind of synced up across the business and everyone understands it early on, and getting that buy-in so that everyone gets excited by the project and see their role there. And then obviously patience, which is easier said than done. The runts and sparkle. Right. I had to ask Grammy-winning producer Mark Ronson to add more sparkle to a track as our brand director wanted it to be more on brand. Imagine having to deliver that feedback. Here's what you can learn. Ramon at Adobe spoke yesterday about just letting creators create. So what they do is they have mandatories, but they don't have as many constraints. These are the things you have to do. Apart from that, you fucking go and create because that's what you're amazing at. Don't tell Mark Ronson to add more sparkle to a track. Like focus, and also the consumer is not going to ever go like, oh, that track really on brand because it had more sparkle, and they're not going to remember your brand because it had more sparkle. Focus on making a really good piece of culture that people are going to want to share and get on board. And then I think there's a point on education, right? This clearly shows that there's a disparity in terms of how someone at a senior level thinks they can work in culture to the person that's kind of leading this project. And I think there's an element of like understanding what the kind of where that playbook starts and ends and what you can and can't ask for. The red budget wedding. Okay, 8 weeks into a competitive pitch for an agency, and post-appointment, we had a budget meeting that became a knife fight for cash, which meant we had to pull our budget and let the agency down. I don't really have anything to learn from this because I think shit happens. You're definitely not alone. Budget is moving around really quickly, and I think that's something that that's something that we should know about. And then, jokingly, I said fight harder for it. Many eggs, one basket, right. This one's quite interesting, actually. We built our experiential pillar around one big global partner whose fee then tripled in 1 year. I could have reached everyone in the UK 3 times over with the media value of the new cost. We walked, and we're now rebuilding our experiential strategy from scratch. That's quite a hit. They spent years investing into this partnership, only to then find that they couldn't afford it in year 3. Difficult, right? So some things we can learn from that. Diversify. Don't put your eggs in one basket. If you've got a budget pot, although working with a bigger partner can be very helpful and beneficial, try not to put yourself at that level of risk. If you are going to do that, try and cap a year-on-year fee increase and agree that contractually so that you at least protect your kind of like on-road. Don't let them come back and like triple the fee. But I would always say try and build your cultural IP. You should own something as a brand. You should stand for something. You should leverage that year on year. And you can invite a partner in to be part of that. Do you see what I mean? So you build your own property, and then you can tour it at different places. And that just gives you flexibility rather than having everything kind of siloed with one person. And I said, fuck the big corporations in culture. I do genuinely think that, especially, I think this is an example of like a big festival play with a portfolio business. There's real value in just going independent and doing the harder work to work with multiple independents than going for one big business that is just about money. Like, these are machines. They know how to squeeze you. They have a market. They're a monopoly that haven't really been regulated yet, and there's a conversation about regulation happening internally. So where possible, try and like work with independents. They need the support. They need the cash. They'll give you more. They won't like count every single social post as well. I'm going to finish off quickly. Oh, yeah, this one's particularly bad. Nepo Swifty. I discovered that a 50K budget had been allotted as a partnership to also secure Taylor Swift tickets for said senior lead and their family. Oh, yeah. I know, I was going to end on that note, but I'll do one final one. I've got no words for that, but anyway. The massive artist, right. We need a talent that everyone knows. Like, is there an artist that everyone knows? I don't know. I've recently been directed to find an artist that everyone knows. I'm trying to push back on it, BRB with news. Education and senior pods, it's not all about the size of the artist. It's actually about how you kind of work with multiple artists in interesting ways. Size definitely doesn't always equal success. To be honest, audiences tend to be less engaged the bigger you go. There's a huge risk with talent, right? Especially the bigger you go. Like, you're spending a fortune on one thing. If it doesn't go right, you're in a lot of shit. And I think there's another thing, like misalignment of expectation there, right, between kind of senior and the client that spoke about this. The big idea brief, right. I was briefed to find big ideas. Ultimately, we delivered on the brief. However, the project isn't greenlit as other more pressing commercial challenges have been prioritized. I think we've all been here. We've all seen it happen. It's happening quite a lot at the moment. A couple of things. Commercial challenges, cultural solutions. I think of this a lot. What is the commercial challenge that this piece of culture work is going to do in this campaign? Be really focused on that and build everything from that place. I try to start from that commercial challenge. That means that if there's a business priority that comes in, you can still, it's unlikely that people are going to cut it because they can see the root problem that it's going to solve. Creative isn't enough in today's environments. We have to be really performance-minded. And with that in mind, it's all about integration. How do you work across different teams to make sure that we're not just doing top-of-funnel activity, but it's pulling through to all parts of the business and is going to deliver against that? And get close to the performance team. Ramon at Adobe is talking about this in his creator work. He basically is in lockstep with his performance team, thinking about amplification and demonstrating that his culture work is driving better value than traditional media ads as well. The final one is you're not alone. Shit is hard. We move fast. We work hard. Budgets are tight. AI may take our jobs. We're doing more with less. Shit happens. It can be hard out there. There are some horror stories. We've all heard them as well. But I think there's always something in here from Virgil Abloh, which is everything I do is for the 17th version of myself. If you're feeling frustrated about how things are going, just remember that like you're only human and you're doing incredibly well. And the 17-year-old version of yourself would be really proud of you. So yes, if you'd like to join Beyond, scan the QR code or speak to me afterwards. And I hope you enjoyed that as a light way of ending the MadFest. Thanks so much.